Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. As you may or may not know, Silverlight loves to watch court proceedings. It can be a minor arraignment, it can be one of those classic battles that you might see on TV. But I want to see the real stuff. I don't want to see Judge Judy, even though I respect her for everything she accomplished in her career. And I mean professionally, I don't know her personally. But one of the interesting things I saw very recently was a gentleman, and this is 2024 we're talking, a gentleman tried a bank robbery. Now let's leave the other crimes aside. And how desperate, how blind must you be to attempt a bank robbery? Now, I'm using the banks I have dealt with as an example. So, if this doesn't apply in your area, maybe you're ahead of us, maybe you're behind us. Okay, so let's pretend we are criminals and we're going to rob somebody. And if that pisses off the YouTube algorithm, good, because we're pretending. Let's pick out a suitable target. Okay, banks. Everybody thinks banks. There's lots of money in a bank. Well, let's sit down with a piece of paper and figure out our plan. We don't have the Ocean's 11 team or the Mission Impossible team. It's just you, myself, and maybe a couple people we know. Well, banks anticipate being robbed, and they have for a couple hundred years. About since the 1600s, and even going back to when the Templars were running it, in, the 12th, 13th hundreds. So what is the first thing we notice when we walk into a bank? Cameras everywhere. Now, the important thing about a camera is a camera is never going to stop a robbery, except in the planning stage. It's not like the video games where if you shoot out the cameras, then they go blind. No, they have cameras and things that look different that are cameras. It's like a James Bond fest in there. So we got to figure out how to deal with cameras. Oh, we'll wear a mask. Thanks to 2020, we can do that. If we walk in with a face mask, not so bad, but police have gotten pretty good at figuring out who's behind that mask over the years. So it's it's one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So we get our plan, and for the purposes of YouTube, this is going to be a completely non-violent robbery. We're going to use the threat of force. I have X, Y, and Z, give me the money. You walk up to the front, pass the note to the teller, and we're depending on that. For some crazy reason, this teller decides they're going to give us some money and get us to go away. Okay. Teller, he or she, has decided they'd rather not take the chance and let the cameras do their work. This ain't like the 1970s and 1980s where they had a big cash drawer and they had to document every single transaction. This is 2024. What do? They then have to make a request, and depending on how much they request, either they type their code and the amount into a machine which spits out the money, or they may have to go around back and ask for it personally. And I've only seen the second a few times, and I was asking for thousands of dollars. But if the teller goes around the back and talks to her manager, I would assume the operation is busted. I would not count on that person, that teller, coming back with any money whatsoever. It's just not logical. But we persevere on. Let's give ourselves the miracle burglary. I look very intimidating, so the teller decides that they're going to give the money to get us to go away. Well, it's $100, $1,000, whatever it is. The bank is not opening their vaults just so that you and I can can get out of there. They're going to give us a bag of something or an envelope or something. I actually don't know what they would give us to go away. Now, we're getting maybe a couple thousand that we have to split, assuming that nobody went rogue into a bank trying to rob them. And the silent alarm has been pushed. Oh, yes. Everybody knows that tellers have a silent alarm, and I've never seen behind the counters. I've been behind the counters, I just haven't seen that because I wasn't looking for it. And life goes on. We're going to get caught by the police sooner or later because they've got our pictures. They have all the identifiers they need. And trust me, their cameras weren't the ones that we had in the 1990s, where you have long CRT tubes and a black and white display and something that would be smaller than your tablet today. No, these things are fully high definition tech. They can't do the, scan and enhance thing that's so common in movies these days. But they have such detail, they don't need to. Since we're wearing a mask, they already know the color of our eyes. They can probably pick out details that matches a database. And to even think of this idea, you'd have to have something sketchy in your past. So they might already have your passport, your face, your fingerprints, all that fun stuff. No, if you're a bank robber, you're an idiot. I don't know whether we should throw the book at you or put you into counseling. But, so we can't rob a bank realistically and get away with any serious amount of money or any serious amount of success. So instead, how about a store? Let's not go for one of the big ones, although your profit would be higher there. They usually have security guards and stuff like that standing by. So, mom and pop store. Well, the problem with a mom and pop store, first of all, we're victimizing the wrong people. We can justify robbing a bank in our own rhetoric. We're taking it from the rich and giving it to the poor kind of idea. Mom and pop store, a small store, has none of those benefits. It's a franchisee, whatever it is. And to be quite honest, they have the exact same tricks. They have to worry about theft on a daily basis. But it's not from two robbers like us. It's because of their own employees. That sign, we only have $50 in our cash register. Yes, it's meant to deter thieves and robbers, but it's really meant to deter the employees. 22 years ago, I was managing a Subway. Yeah, my career takes funny hops. And we were told that whenever our money got over, I'm going to say $100, we would drop it into a safe. Now, this safe was solid. Just solid. You're not moving it. You're not breaking into it, even if you have the whole 8-hour schedule and a host of power tools. And you just literally I didn't like the safe for one reason, because they didn't really record what went into the safe. And at the end of the day, when Subway was open very late, the managers would come in, and I was a manager. They'd unlock the safe with the owner standing right there, because the owner had a 3 or 4 of these little chains going. And they'd then move on to the next one while you would count the day up. And like I said, I didn't like it. And the store owner would tell us all the scams and all the things people did to sell money. They weren't stealing money they were stealing money from the cash register, but it was in a way that you wouldn't think of. Somebody would come up to the counter, order whatever you want to call it, a veggie and cheese. There we go. So they put in the veggie with cheese, and then you put in the second veggie with cheese, and they would either cancel it out or whatever they did so that it looked like the money was discounted in the system. And then they tell the customer, hey, good news, I got a second one just for you. I made you a second one. They take the money for the second one and pretend it was a complete transaction. Now, it's been years, so the exact details elude me, but that was how the employees made their money. Smart scam. We only noticed because our inventory was off. The The money all showed it was working, and it looked like we had as much money as we should. But the inventory was off, and it was off for a long period. We couldn't figure it out. That's the way that you steal. It's hate to give you ideas, and that's one of the reasons why my memory not being so good is a good idea, so anybody listening to this doesn't decide to try it. And trust me, don't. They will figure it out. They're smarter today than they were when I was working there. So robbing a local place, you're not going to get much more than 50. At best, you're going to get $100. And then what? It's not like you demand a jet to fly you to Tahiti or something like that. You got $100 and a criminal record, because while their cameras might not be as good at the banks, they're better than what you have in your smartphone. And again, the police are very good at facial recognition. Remember, since a long time, they've had artists whose sole job was to sketch a perpetrator from somebody's description. So that's a pretty talented person to have around you. What do you notice? Oh, I can sketch this, and give you an idea of this. Fantastic. And the detectives ain't bad either. So, you know it's a good place to get some money? A bar. Get there right after they're closing. That way the tips are all together, the money's all together for the day. And you decide, hey, that's the person. Let's do this non-violent again. Because you can threaten violence, which is not a terrible charge. It's better than actually committing violence. And you've already decided to become a criminal anyway. Let's just decide not to hurt or harm anybody. So you go to a bar. Fantastic. Hey, you want a drink while we're waiting to get our money? Exactly. Anything you want, they got it. There's only one problem. The regulars at a bar all know who stops off in that bar. And you're going to pick your bar by stopping off on them and having a drink and scouting the place out. Regulars, even though they're drinking, figure people out. It's been documented in the one sociological study I have read on it, and they'll even challenge you. This is way back in the 80s, I believe this study took place. And it was a new person that came into the bar, and for whatever reason they decided they didn't like him. So the older fellow just sat beside him and started singing old beer marketing labels. Hey Mabel, Black Label, and the kid didn't know how to respond, so he got up and out of there and they had a big laugh. Secondly, you better pray it's not a biker bar. Now you might think it's easy to spot a biker bar. The motorcycles out front might be a clue, but not every biker bar is a clubhouse. And they can come in as part of the regular population too. Bikers are going to make sure you don't mess up their favorite place to hang up. Cops have local bars they hang out at. Soldiers have local bars they hang out at. Which of those groups do you want to take on? Because any one of them's a bad idea. And a bar might have a couple thousand in there, pretend it's relatively popular, but the more popular the bar is, the more money it makes, but the more people who are there, and somebody might decide to be the hero because they've had a couple drinks and they got that liquid courage in their systems. Home invasion? No. One of these homes is armed with a shotgun. That's not a fun Sesame Street rhyme. And you don't know which it is. But yeah, so robbing anybody in 2024, it's an eternity of stupid is what it is. Your chances of success are minuscule, and what you do get is simply not worth your effort. So think about that. Think about all those people in prison for robbery, armed robbery, theft, blah, I can keep going. And it's a lot of the prison population that decided the risk for that small of a reward was worth it. Do me a favor, if you're listening to this, just be on the right side. I'm not going to say it's easier because in some ways being a criminal is easier. But at least we can sleep at night with a little food in our belly and a little water to drink. With that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, because sharing is caring. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Click the notification icon, whatever it might be on your system, so that way you can be informed every single time we upload a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.